Why bother understanding the used car market if buying a new one is a surefire option without surprises and pitfalls? In this video, you will learn what really lies behind the words brand new, 0 kilometer. We will show you what they are trying hard to hide from you in car dealerships. We have been working for several years and have seen dozens of new cars with hidden issues. I will tell you about the risks of hidden damages and how to identify them. Everything you see in this video is not fiction. It's what we encounter every day. Numerous showrooms with new cars in Dubai are mainly located on Sheikh Zayed Road. These are prestigious cars, shiny showrooms, and confident salespeople. But new cars often turn out to be repainted, repaired, and even have serious defects. All of this is carefully concealed, and unsuspecting buyers don't even consider the potential problems, not used to living in constant fear. But before we move on to new cars, let's deal with slightly used ones. We inspected the first car, and half of it turned out to be repainted: the right door, the right rear fender, the trunk lid, and the roof cover. The car was a convertible in the summer and its roof would fold down, after which a special cover would close over it. This cover was also repainted. The seller, even after being presented with all the evidence, when we approached the car, showed us precisely, look, here is the original paint, this is the original paint, and here is the repainted area, and here there was some minor accident. He didn't admit to anything, even when we showed him. Look, there are traces of the old paint being sanded down here, and he still didn't admit it. What else can be done about this? They just don't admit it. They say, no, this is the original paint. We don't know anything. After that, they called the client and said, don't believe them, they're lying to you. What else is there to add? Next, there was a car with a mileage of 900 kilometers. We came, checked it, and it turned out that 2 panels were painted again. We asked the showroom owner if he knew anything about this, and he said no. When we asked where he gets these cars from, he replied, well, not from the dealer, but like from the dealer. Think for yourselves where they get these cars and by what means, by what methods they obtain them. In the end, the best Bentley Continental GT turned out to be older than these 2 cars and with higher mileage. So once again, we remind you, the most important thing when choosing a car is its actual condition, not the year or the mileage on the odometer. Now regarding new cars with no mileage. And let's clarify right away that we are talking about 4 cars, each of which costs around 1 million dirhams. Once again, 1 million dirhams for each of these cars. That's an understatement. A fortune spent. Unbelievable. Buyers of such cars usually think that no one will deceive them because the car is luxurious, because reputation is important to everyone. But just wait for the last of these cases. So, the first case is the Cayenne Turbo GT. Again, let me remind you, the car costs around 1 million dirhams. You come to the dealership and they tell you, the car is in stock. We'll bring it here now and you can take a look at it. The car is brought from the stock. You inspect it, find nothing wrong, and make the purchase. The next morning, when starting, it's cold, in your parking lot, there's a loud noise throughout the entire space. Just throughout the entire space. You don't understand what's going on. So, how did it look from our side? We come to the showroom and say, we want to see this Cayenne. They say, okay, but it's in stock. We say, great, but we want to see the car in a cold state, with a cold start. We insisted a bit more and eventually went to the stock. We arrived at the stock, waiting for the key. Even though people called the warehouse in advance, they waited there for half an hour for the key. We already spent an extra half hour just waiting for the key. This is your time, remember that. We start the car and a loud noise echoes throughout the stock. The seller sees nothing wrong with this terrible noise, saying, it's okay, that's how it's supposed to sound. We start figuring out what the issue is. So, there's a valve in the exhaust system that adjusts the exhaust volume, making it either quieter or louder. The valve is defective, it has some play, and consequently when starting, it begins to rattle and produce a truly terrible noise throughout the entire room. Problem? Yes, a problem. Who will bear the solution? On you, of course, because it's not a serious defect that prevents you from driving this car, and therefore it's unlikely you'll be able to return it. You will have to prove a lot and spend a lot of time on it. But that's not all. Besides the fact that the car makes a noise, which can basically be repaired, right? A trip to the dealer. The car during transportation or storage, we don't know exactly when it happened, but it was left in the rain, and most likely after the rain, the sun came out, and all the droplets on the car dried quickly, leaving calcium marks behind. The showroom, of course, did not want to sell the car in such a condition, well, let's say a non-new car condition. And they sent the car. When the cheap detailing service saw the calcium marks, what did they do? Of course, they just took sandpaper and went over the entire body. If you look at it in the showroom, most likely, I give you 90%. You won't notice anything. Only under special lighting can you notice that the entire body is covered in marks from the sanding. It is all covered in fine scratches, small scratches, attempts to remove those calcium marks. And, well, in reality, there's nothing you can do about it anymore. You are buying a new car, part of the paintwork of which has already been removed because of these droplets. And accordingly, subsequent polishing will further reduce the residual thickness of the paint coating, will eventually lead to the likelihood that you will have to repaint the car, and that will fall on your shoulders. Because proving anything here will be, well, practically impossible. The second case involves another Cayenne Turbo GT, which costs about the same amount of money. I remind you that 1 million dirhams at the moment is approximately around 25 million rubles. So, we come to the showroom, and the car is presented as completely new, under warranty. The showroom owner is practically breathing down our necks. The entire time we were inspecting, he was teaching us how to properly inspect cars, saying we shouldn't examine them so thoroughly, and that we were checking too, meticulously. And this is a new car, so there's no need to scrutinize it so closely. People behave like this. I always have the feeling that they are trying to hide something. So we paid no attention to him and continued doing our job. And eventually, I started having doubts about the front bumper. We examined the front bumper very carefully and discovered that all the gaps were not factory standard, and moreover, it was assembled incorrectly. After that, the owner mentioned, without us telling him, that he had a second car. We said, great, show us the second car. We moved on to the second car and saw that all the gaps were in place and the bumper was assembled correctly. We returned to the first car. He was still standing behind us. I could see him out of the corner of my eye. And I said to my partner, the front bumper is painted. Do you know what happens after that? The owner, who had been teaching us how to inspect the car all this time and saying that we were checking too thoroughly, finally falls silent and quietly leaves. We make a report showing that the bumper looks like it was disassembled and most likely it will be repainted. Was repainted. And after that, we return to the showroom owner. He says, so how's the car? We say it straight. We think the front bumper was repainted and most likely, well, are 100% sure it was disassembled. Do you know anything about this? He says, well, maybe you should ask the Porsche dealer. What if the Porsche dealer tells us that nothing happened and that it's not their doing? Then it means the car has already been serviced elsewhere, and therefore the warranty no longer applies because the car was disassembled and repaired. For some reason, we don't know why, at an external service center. We asked the owner again, are you sure you don't know anything about this? No, I don't know anything. After that, we walked away from the car. Just think about it. You could have spent 1 million dirhams on a supposedly new car and not know that it's no longer under warranty because it was repaired at an external service center. The third case involves a J63. The car was brought here from Germany, and a car imported from Germany via parallel import is not under warranty here. Specifically with Mercedes. They are only covered under warranty for an additional fee. The odometer reads 79 kilometers. 79. We begin inspecting the car and discover that the dashboard was completely removed. A thorough inspection with disassembly showed that there are no odometer rollbacks inside, and there were no serious problems. That is, the airbags did not deploy, and the car has not been in an accident. And in principle, there was most likely some technical defect that was fixed before the car was put up for sale. The seller naturally knows nothing about this. However, we thoroughly verified all of this and understood that there was indeed nothing serious. Okay, next, the car goes to refuel and then stalls. Once again, a car with 79 kilometers on the odometer, costing 1 million dirhams, stalls after refueling. The check engine light comes on, we connect diagnostic equipment, check for errors. The errors showed misfires, specifically misfires in only one of the cylinders. So, the analysis of the situation indicates that most likely the problem is that the gasoline is entering the engine parallel to the fuel system, parallel to the regular fuel system. In other words, it is simply flooding the cylinders. Contacting the services showed that They don't think so, and in their opinion, the fuel pump is faulty. As for the fuel pump and refueling, they cannot explain how they are related. And here lies another non-obvious problem, that when you buy an expensive car, you are not buying professional service. Non-standard problems require non-standard solutions. When you go to the service for a fuel pump replacement, 99% of the time you won't get the desired result. 99% of the time, the next refueling will show you that you just wasted time and money. And the problem turned out to be something else. After our insistence, the problem, in one of the services turned out to be in the fuel tank ventilation. And this was indeed confirmed by simply swapping a part from another vehicle. Indeed, the problem disappeared after replacing one part that related to the fuel tank ventilation. Not the fuel pump, but the fuel tank ventilation. And the fourth case is the most interesting. Just listen until the end. So we come to the new G63 and discover, just immediately, approached the vehicle and found that the bull bar in front was painted literally with a spray can, because even under night lighting, it was clear that the paint on it was not original. A thickness gauge measurement showed that indeed the paint was not original. Well, okay. After that, we start to carefully inspect the front part of the vehicle and discover, well, something simply unimaginable. On a car with a mileage of 39 kilometers, all the radiators in the front are damaged by stones. Damaged by stones as if this car had already traveled, well, not 39 kilometers, but I don't know, not even 39,000 kilometers, but something around 100,000 kilometers. Further inspection shows that the panels in the front part of the car had been disassembled, and we don't know if they were swapped from another car or not, because they are all plastic and we can't precisely measure the paint with a thickness gauge, but perhaps they just found them in the same color and swapped them from another vehicle. We have many questions. We start looking at the interior, and what do we find there? What would you think? Deployed seatbelt? Deployed seatbelts at a mileage of 39 kilometers? How is that even possible? Moreover, we doubted the color of the seatbelts, whether it was the original color of the belts. We checked the VIN and found that the seatbelts should be a different color. We showed the seller and say, look, the seatbelts in this car should be a different color. He says, yes, they were changed. We asked, why were they changed? He says, well, I'm not sure exactly, but most likely to make the car look nicer. The car is supposed to look nicer after the seatbelts have deployed. And you know what the main problem is? Is that neither the seller likely knows the real history, nor have you likely uncovered the real history. These seatbelts were either transferred from another car that was wrecked, or these seatbelts were reassembled by someone, meaning someone just replaced the strap with a strap of a different color. Well, somehow it got into an accident, or something happened to it. But no one knows this. How it really happened won't be told, the seller most likely won't tell, and you most likely won't uncover it either. However, the facts indicate that the car, firstly, was modified in the front part. And secondly, it has non-original seatbelts, even on a new car. And what questions this will raise during the sale, well, it's scary to even imagine, and most likely, the buyer will doubt that the car was never in an accident at all. And once again, what does this mean for you? It means that you will lose 25 million rubles, or 1 million dirhams. 1 million dirhams for a car with deployed seatbelts. And it's good if the operation goes without an accident. But what if an accident occurs? And you have to check if these seatbelts actually work. What the outcome will be, no one knows. Years of working with car dealers in the UAE have shown that you shouldn't trust anyone. Staff errors or someone's malicious intent can lead to a car with defects being sold as completely perfect. We have seen with our own eyes how cars from an official dealer were damaged during transportation. And whether they tell you about these defects or not depends solely on the integrity of the staff you will be dealing with when purchasing. Don't fall for advertising tricks, but rather check the following points. First, tire wear. On a new car, they should be without any wear. Second, check the tire production date. It should match the car's production date. Third, brake wear. The brakes should be completely unworn. Fourth, exhaust pipes. They should be absolutely clean inside. Fifth, check the plastic around the dashboard. All gaps should be even, and there should be no scratches. Sixth, inspect the plastic around the dashboard. There should be no scratches. Seventh, check the wear on the controls, the steering wheel, the gear selector, and also the handle on the driver's door. If you're not confident in your abilities, contact us and get a full detailed report on the car. Even when buying a car with experts, you do not get a 100% guarantee of no problems in the future. But with Car Expert, you get an overall picture of the car's condition and minimize risks. You understand in advance whether it's worth investing in this car, receive alternative options, and save yourself from potential unplanned expenses of money and time on things that even sellers of new cars don't mention. My name is Timur, and I wish you reliable cars at fair prices. See you all on the roads of Dubai. Bye-bye.